Welcome to the final episode of the Aussie Gamers Experience podcast for 2020. Greggio and Lucas once again join me in welcoming you all to episode 327, our Game of the Year show for 2020. So being it's the last show, cheers boys.
Cheers.
Whoa, this is the Aussie Gamers Experience podcast, the show with irreverent live listeners, raging hosts, and eventually conversation about the best and the worst of the video games industry. So, all that you're required to do now is to pick up your poison of choice. Expect the best, but prepare for the worst, and above all, enjoy the show.
Wow, 2020, what a year. Not only have we had a worldwide viral pandemic to deal with, but the gaming world has had its own storms to weather. When the rest of the world began shutting down, the gaming industry banded together. The frustration we all saw being locked down was abated by our game time, with easy fun titles like Fall Guys, Among Us, and the Jackbox Party Packs all gaining a cult-like following overnight. Millions of dollars were pledged by gaming studios to the Black Lives Matter movement, and in a show of respect, a lot of release info was pushed back to let other voices be heard. From there, though, kind of all went downhill. We had sexual harassment and misconduct accusations run rife, with some top-name devs and streamers having to pay for their shitty behaviour. We had resignations, apologies, and of course delays with teams moving to work from home. Then came the death threats for game delays, death threats for poor performance, death threats for appearing woke, death threats for not, death threats fucking everywhere. A very small part, like laughably itty-bitty part, of the gaming community went mental this year, enough even at one stage for me to contemplate just walking away from it all. But that is what 2020 was, an absolute shit show. But through it all, gaming has gone on with some amazing people doing amazing work in trying times. Not to mention the release of the Xbox Series X and S, the PlayStation 5, and plenty of new gear from Intel and AMD to get your PC gaming fix. For us here at the Age XP, we have played some awesome games this year, so let's go! Lucas, Greggio, brothers, how are we doing this evening, boys?
Very good.
Anyone?
I was going to say, who wants to go first?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to answer there. No, I'm doing very good. Although I'm just going to add in there, NVIDIA. You missed them. They did some big things as well this year with the 30 series graphics cards.
Yes. I don't think we missed that this year, thanks to Lucas.
And you can probably take out Intel and replace NVIDIA in there, because Intel did nothing but release a blog saying, yeah, we got some gear coming too. I know. AMD have sort of brought out their new 5000 series CPUs. We've got stuff coming, just not yet.
Well, here you go, mate. NVIDIA, and you can use that to dub over the old bit.
No, I'm not doing that.
No.
That's hard work.
I'm already in holiday mode.
Good. Good to hear. I've got half a day left and I'm into it, but I've started drinking already. Greg, how about yourself, mate?
Oh, look, I am so close to finishing work, and obviously big show tonight, so super pumped about that. So yeah, what can I say? It's coming to the good part of the year, the fun time of the year, the time where I've got more time to play games and less work to do sometimes. I'm sure there'll be work around the house that he's doing, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
Well, you guys talking about shutting down for the end of the year because work's closing up. Damn stupid essential worker.
Thank you for your
service
extra time over Christmas.
That's all right. I get to get paid extra money working public holidays.
Yep.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'll buy you a CC and dry next time you come over.
Okay.
Done. All right, let's get into the fun part of the show. Our categories this year: top titles we've enjoyed from a previous year, big claim, lame game, honourable mentions, top 5 game of the year countdown to finish it all off. So let's jump into it with some titles that we've joined from previous years, shall we?
Sure.
Do it.
All right. Luke, you want to kick it off?
All right, the first game that I played this year, just to clarify, these are games that weren't released in 2020. They're from ages ago that I had never played before, and I actually really enjoyed them. And the first one on my list is What Becomes of Edith Finch. So that gets a special mention for me because it was... this game for me is a game that I confused with something else. I thought it was... there's another game called... Is it Gone Home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this game was that game for a long time. And then I played Gone Home, and that was actually not a bad game as well. But then it sort of occurred to me later on, I'm like, okay, well, if that wasn't What Becomes of Edith Finch, then what the hell is What Becomes of Edith Finch? And I saw that it was on sale and bought it. And then after I bought it, I realised I already had it on my Xbox as an Xbox Games with Gold game. So I bought it for nothing. That was fantastic. So at least I'm happy that it was a good game and I was able to support them by buying it anyway, which was cool. So it was actually a really cool game. It was a bit of a walking simulator with a twist. So you just sort of walk around this house and check out the rooms and try and work out what happened. But then it does some really weird, bizarre stuff and goes into some real supernatural things. And it's actually quite fun, as well as very depressing. Very depressing game, like the actual core meaning behind everything you do in it. But it's actually a pretty cool game that I really enjoyed. And that's the first one to mention of my amazing games from long ago.
Nice. All right, Greggio, which ones you've got?
Do you have two?
I have two.
How about you do yours? Because I've only got one. I narrowed mine down to one.
All right. Well, my first one is actually Minecraft.
Ah.
So this year, Minecraft for me has sort of taken off, and it's taken off more to the fact that I've actually started playing it on PC more than anything else.
Yep.
And up until earlier this year, I'd never actually finished the so-called finished point of Minecraft where you go and kill the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished that, and then through yourself, Greg, got onto a new realm, playing with a whole group of other people that just sort of went ballistic and got to build some weird and wonderful things over there, and it was just a massive sort of time sink for what is essentially a pretty basic game that's been around for 10 years now.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well talk about my choice now because actually mine is Minecraft. I actually walked into this decision-making process thinking I'm not going to choose Minecraft, but when I really sat down and thought about it long and hard, I was like, one, I've probably played it more than anything else this year. Two, this was actually quite a big year for Minecraft. It was the 10-year anniversary. On top of that, it had one of its biggest updates that it's ever had in the Nether update, which is really good. After 10 years, they're still producing even bigger and better things for the game. I mean, it was up against some stiff competition in my group. Like, I had some really big games that I played this year from previous years, like GTA 5 and Ace Combat 7 and Titanfall 2 and Sniper Elite 4 and Forza and all that jazz. They were all on the list, but Minecraft, it's got another big update next year, so with the Caves and Cliffs. So yeah, that's why I chose it. So
just keeps going from strength to strength, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Nice. All right, Luke, your second one.
Second one for me, which is one of the most recent ones that came from one of the conversations we were having on an earlier episode, and that was Mirror's Edge Catalyst, the game that supposedly didn't exist.
Didn't exist.
Yeah,
What a gem that was.
I'm not going to live that one down.
I think, sadly, that was a very under-the-radar game, underrated as well, because I decided to give it a go, because I didn't really think too much of the first one, and I only played it a little bit, and I had access to Catalyst via EA Play, and I gave it a go, and I actually thought it was a really good game. I really enjoyed playing that, so... that one, I don't exactly know when that one was released. It was a few years ago now, but I played it this year. Had a lot of good times in it, and like the gameplay was just satisfying with all the wall running and the combat. It was all very different, but they made it work. It was really good. So that's a rarity from EA. It was one that I really enjoyed.
Well, they've got to have one every now and again.
Yeah.
Suppose.
Well,
EA.
I suppose while we shouldn't attribute the successes to EA, more so the people that actually make the game, the developers, but we all really do like to attribute their failures. But usually the failures usually are EA to blame, because it's usually the monetizing and all that sort of garbage and paywalls and stuff like that generally ruin a game. But this one didn't feel like it was touched too harshly by EA, because it didn't really appear to have any sort of paywall stuff. Granted, I think you could buy it. I think there are microtransactions, but it was very sort of backgroundy stuff. It wasn't intrusive to the point where you're always being told, "Hey, upgrade this by paying money." It wasn't like that. And
I think it has the advantage of being born in an era where it was before that was kind of really had taken off. So anything that you can sort of add to the architecture is only background stuff. It's really hard to input that stuff once the architecture is up and running and the game is playing as it should.
Yeah. And it was predominantly a single player game, so there wasn't that continuation aspect. It did have some online aspects where you could create like runs, and you could do basically time trials, and then you could sort of compare your times online and post them, and battle your friends and all that sort of stuff. But other than that, it was essentially a single player game, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. The graphics had held up. They didn't feel like they'd aged. It's not that old a game, but it was a really good game that I'm surprised at how little of the limelight it got. But I don't know, maybe it's just a bit of a specialty game that only a select few would enjoy. But I was one of them. I liked it.
Nice. All right, my second one is, of course, my addiction, The Division 2. So The Division 2 came out March 2019. And this year, actually again in March 2020, they actually released the Warlords of New York DLC. So with this DLC came a new raid, a new map, a whole new section of story that takes you back to the original game and back to original parts of New York. And it was just another continuation of the story that I really loved from the original. So it took a lot of my gaming time, and it's just one of those games that, because I did spend so much time in the original Division and then again in Division 2, it's just, I know the mechanics, I know the maps, I know the layouts, I know where things are going to spawn, I know all the missions that you can do, to the point where I'm speed running them, and it's just an easy game to play. Like, obviously you've got your challenging levels where you're bumping the difficulty up, but overall just being able to play it, and because you've got those, like, it's kind of muscle memory, knowing what to do, where to do it, and it just becomes an ease to play, I suppose.
Well, I feel like the Division 2 really does fall into the category of a game that's easy to play but hard to master, because you can pick up and play the Division 2 easily, and you don't need to have the best gear to have a good time. You can still enjoy it. But if you want to take full advantage of everything the game has to offer, then it does get a little bit tricky, where you've got to get the right gear sets. It's quite in depth. But you don't have to. You don't have to go into all of that depth if you don't want to, which is good, because you're the kind of person who like to put time into your gear sets and specific sets of gear for different activities. Where there was me, who I just wanted to play it and have a bit of fun, and I was able to do that without feeling like the game was too hard or broken or whatever. So I give it props for that.
Yeah, it's always easy to pick up and just play. So that's what I like about it. All right, that's it for top titles that we've enjoyed from previous years. Next one, big claim lame game. So we've got, this is kind of a bit of a broad category. Obviously, it's games that had a bit of a hype up and they've kind of flopped, and also kind of opening it up. And Greg, you're talking about it earlier. Just shitty things that have gone on in the industry this year.
Yep.
So, Luke, I think you've got the most of them, so you can start us off.
Okay. Well, yes, I have 4 of them, and they aren't in any particular order. However, I do have my number 1 spot, which I think is the biggest claim and was an absolute lame game, but I'll leave that to the last. But the first one I want to mention is one of the most recent releases, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this was only released like a week ago, 10th of December, and not for the reasons that everyone is complaining about. Now, this is on my list, not because of all the bugs and the issues and all that sort of stuff with its launch. I'm playing it on PC, so it mostly works with respect to a couple of stupid little graphical bugs, nothing sort of game breaking. So ignoring any of the problems that it has, the game itself is like I would liken it to a cheese sandwich. I mean, I don't mind a cheese sandwich. I will often have a cheese sandwich every now and then, but it's hardly what I would choose if I was going to a big restaurant. It's just a cheese sandwich. And I feel like Cyberpunk 2077 over the last 8 years or whatever it is that we've known about this game coming, they've talked this up to be the most revolutionary, visually impressive, non-linear gameplay sort of RPGs, and I find it to be a bloody cheese sandwich. There is nothing that has blown me. I'm 30 hours into the game now. I have not finished it, but I'm 30 hours in, and I'm struggling to find something to say, oh my god, this piece of gameplay has blown me away. It doesn't have anything like that yet, not at least in the first 30 hours of gameplay. I feel like the claim was so much bigger than its actual game, and that's why it's on my list. But it's a good game still. I've got to say, still a good game, and that's why it's probably the first one I'm mentioning out of this one. So I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's just not what I'd imagine from what they told us.
Yeah, well, that's completely understandable. But I do have to ask the question, is it a Aldi cheese singles game, or is it a Cracker Jack sort of cheese sandwich?
Oh, it's definitely the Cracker Jack, the one that crumbles and has that bite. It's definitely nice. Yeah. It's a good cheese. Got that there. Yeah. Yeah.
Just had to make sure what level of cheese we're at.
Yeah. It's a 5 cheese sandwich. It's just
it's a bloody good cheese sandwich, but that's all it is.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's not a steak sanger.
It's not exactly the beef Wellington that I thought I was going to get.
With your fucking Wellingtons.
I love a beef Wellington.
I'm going to have to make you one day.
Oh, please do.
Greg, you've got a couple as well, don't you?
I've got 2. So,
yeah, all right, sweet.
Once again, not in any order. So the first one I'll name it's not actually a game, it was one of these shit things. And I want to give it to the Apple Xbox Epic Greed Fest that we've seen all year. To and fro and lies, bullshit, carry on, all about, and let's just call it what it is, a fight over money. As much as they claim that it's not. Let's just put that. I don't need to talk any more about it. That is, everyone know, anyone that's been listening all year.
We've spoken about it at length on the show so far.
Yep, so that's my pick. That's my first pick for big lame moment of 2020 in gaming world. So
cool.
Right. Well, I've only got one this year, so I'm just going to get mine out of the way. Marvel's Avengers.
That's my next one.
Of course, developed by Crystal Dynamics, published by Square Enix. It should have been so much better with that sort of pedigree running a show. Now, look, there's a lot of things going about that went wrong with it for me. I couldn't get past a lot of things that troubled me. Is the gameplay itself I didn't like it. I didn't like that the characters looked like they did on the screen, but they sounded completely different. And overall, there's been a lot of issues with extensive monetization and also poor endgame. I never got to endgame because I just could not get through it. And being that I am a comic book nerd, I love anything Marvel or DC. I'm probably more DC, to be honest, but anything comic book related, I really enjoy. So I should have, like with Crystal and Square, it should have been so much more, but they missed something. I don't know what it was, but they missed something.
Yeah. Well,
if it's your next one, Luke,
yeah,
chime in. Let me know what your thoughts
it is. It was my next one to mention. Now I liked the Avengers. Okay, so this is another one that I'm not just flat out saying it was shit, but it just was not up to par with what we were expecting, and what I couldn't come to terms with. What I really thought ruined the experience for me is that they went on about how this was a co-op game, but the thing is, the missions were broken up into single player only and co-op, so you can't just join up with a friend and play the game from start to finish together, because it will boot the other person out, because then the next mission is a single player story-based game mission where you can only play it on your own. And I thought that completely broke the immersion. You can't play it with your friends. There are only select missions that you could do that. That was one of the biggest bugbears of mine that I thought was terrible. Another thing as well, I was playing as massive superheroes, and I did not feel like I was powerful. I didn't feel like I was strong. I was getting absolutely destroyed as the Hulk, and I was doing these massive big ground pounds which did bugger all damage, and this is only playing on like the normal difficulty. I just felt stupidly underpowered. I feel like if you're playing a massive big superhero like Hulk, the difficulty should come in the amount of enemies that are thrown at you, not a smaller amount, because there might be 5 enemies. I would like to expect, if there are 5 enemies in a like around me, if I do that massive big ground pound, they should all be dead. But it takes off like 10% of their health. I'm like, well, that does not feel right. I don't feel awesome. It didn't give me that feeling.
That's where something like this, because there is so much lore behind it as well. The Hulk, the more he gets hurt or the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't translate to a game because you've got a health bar.
You can. There are ways of doing it, but they just didn't. So for that character, you'd have like a rage bar, essentially. And once your rage bar fills, you just get like super OP and just murder everyone. Right?
Yeah. But
there are ways around.
I did enjoy it. I did finish it all the way through, but then it was so sort of so-so that, like you said, underwhelming endgame. I got to endgame and I no longer wanted to play it, because another thing that was disappointing as well, all of the upgrades and extra gear that you find made no visual difference to your character. So putting on new gear that you pick up makes you look exactly the same. Nothing changes. And I thought that was a misstep as well. If you're putting on a uniform, or like a new set of boots or whatever, shouldn't that be visible? Instead of having to grind your life away to unlock different skins, and the skins have no say on what your abilities are, just your appearance. It's all the other gear that you pick up that does that, but has no visible change at all. So that was sort of underwhelming as well. So a good game that I enjoyed, but it was it was dead once I finished the game. And they brought some updates later, and it was too late. None of the updates that they and content that they added to the game was enticing enough for me to want to go back to it. It was a big lame game.
Yes. Greg, your next one, mate.
Once again, more disappointment than any kind of, but also an exercise in how media companies should not do games. the way they do. So this one is Fast and Furious Crossroads. To me, all you have to do is make a decent game. You're Universal. Just tie yourself to a reputable dev and make a decent game, and it will make stupid amounts of money. Don't skimp and make this cheap piece of crap that no one wants to play. It's just learn.
Especially like it's a car game. The amount of talent out there,
yes,
that has a proven track record,
yes,
at car games.
Even if you don't want to spend money, just make a clone. Like literally, get Codemasters to use their engine and just make a clone of one of their car games, like Grid or something like that,
Do you think they probably tried that, but nobody wanted to make a Fast and Furious car game because they thought it would tank?
But this is my point. Like, the market is there. You just have to make a decent game, and people will buy it.
But is it?
Look, they make stupid amounts of money on those movies.
I think it is.
You can make stupid amounts of money off that IP as a game.
Yeah.
It's not hard. If Need for Speed can make shitty stories and a car game and sell stupid amounts, then they should be able to make at least somewhat of a half-decent story from the canon they've already got and just tie it to at least a Need for Speed level game, and you would make stupid amounts of money. Anyway.
Yeah, but if it had Need for Speed level, or even something like The Crew,
yes,
like that sort of level where it's, it doesn't need to be a sim.
It
just
has
needs to be an arcade. Yeah, it's just got to be some level of quality that it just wasn't.
Yes. Yep.
Oh well.
Anyway,
maybe next time. The movies keep going, so maybe the games will.
The previous Fast and Furious game was better than this one. The one on the PS2. I at least enjoyed that game. My goodness. Anyway.
All right.
Continue.
Luke, you've got two more.
I do have two more. All right, so the second last one is Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh, of course.
This gets on my big claim lame game because it was, I did have some big claims and I was really excited for its release. The only problem, I think the biggest thing that killed this game for me is that it had no cross-platform multiplayer at launch. And by the time they brought that in, the game was essentially... Yeah, it does now. But I don't want to play it anymore because I have absolutely played everything that the game has to offer. I can grind and get better gear, but I don't want to. There's not enough content in that game. You're going from Minecraft, which has... it's been 10 years running, but the amount of content in Minecraft is exponential. It is larger than life. And then you've got this Minecraft Dungeons that felt like it was a fraction of what it should have been. It's a very sort of light-on version of Diablo, but the amount of gameplay that there was, so the amount of like maps and levels, it was minuscule. It felt like they'd stopped making the game a quarter of the way through and went, that'll be enough for a release. Let's send it out. Yeah, it was cheap. Yeah. It wasn't $100 or anything like that retail, but there wasn't enough in there to keep me kicking. And that was the biggest downfall. And it also stopped us from playing with other people, our other friends that were on different platforms because there was no cross-platform play at launch. It was something they brought in later. So that sort of harmed it for me. So that's why it made it onto my list for that one.
Yeah, the fact that you couldn't play it PC to Xbox, even though it was released on Xbox Game Pass for PC and Xbox.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, no. But it's a game that I think, unfortunately, fell into this trap that, okay, yeah, we'll release it now. It won't be too much money, but then we'll slug for DLC down the line. And it's kind of, I think it's fallen. Like, it's very much fallen off the radar. The new DLC, when it comes out, it's just... I don't hear much about it at all. So
no, it's dead.
It's dead. All right, mate, last one.
All right, the last one. Now, this is something that I thought that I'd put this on the list, and you guys, when I say the name, you're going to be like, oh my God, of course. How did I forget that? This one was released on the 24th of April, 2020. And only experience in this game was in the early access beta that I played. So I am judging it based on that, but I'm not judging it based on any of the issues it had, but just the fact that the game was shit, and that is Predator Hunting Ground.
Yeah.
Wow.
That game was terrible. This is I think the only one on my list of big claim lane game where the game was actually just shit. That was the problem I had with it. It was absolute rubbish. Now, it doesn't fall into the category of Rambo garbage, but it's just it's only a couple of clicks above. It was really.
Let's be honest. At least it worked.
Well,
like
Rambo worked. Rambo worked as well. It just Rambo looked like he was made out of a carved potato. It was Predator Hunting Grounds just was a massive disappointment, and that's on top of the fact that it didn't really work. Like it was almost impossible to get into a match.
Yeah, look, it's one of those games that I really wish it was more fun, because the fun, like for me, the fun died away before the beta was finished. And take away the long load times, the terrible matchmaking that you'd get matched with. There'd be four of us playing who've played 2 games, matched with a Predator who's played 40. Like there's all those terrible facts with it, but just the fun died off very quickly.
Well, when the aspect of the game that is the most impressive is the title screen, you have a problem, because that title screen...
The most impressive, it was just the longest. That's what we watched the most. That's why you can remember it so well.
No, I actually really liked it because it showed the image, like it had like a 3D sort of diorama of either the Predator or the character that you've created, and it had the Predator music as well, like from the movie. And I thought that was really cool. And the graphics in that menu were amazing. And then you get into the game and then it's all shit. It's just a mess. The controls were horrible as well. Like, coming from playing first-person shooters like Call of Duty, where I don't know what they do in Call of Duty, but using a controller, it just feels right. But then playing Hunting Grounds, I just found it almost impossible to aim. And it didn't translate. It was completely different feel and just felt foreign, and it broke the whole game. And I could only use a controller because it was on PS4 that I was playing it, so I didn't have the choice of keyboard and mouse. Because I don't even think I could get a match on PC. It was garbage. Predator Hunting Grounds, recommended, not by me,
by someone.
Recommended by the marketing company.
Yes. All right, let's move on to our next category. Of course, we've got honourable mentions. This category is all about those games that are still giving us a lot of fun, but they're just not quite there to go into our Game of the Year contention. So I'm going to kick it off with this one. Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. Of course, developed by Mediatonic. I didn't write down the release date, but I think it was around June, July. Possibly early. Anyway, great community-based battle royale without the toxicity. 4. It was just August 4, was it? Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, it's a game that just you couldn't be toxic in it.
Oh, you could.
It was still.
Oh, you could. What about all of those assholes that hang out at the finish line with the pure intention of just trying to block people from crossing the finish line?
Yeah, okay, I can see that, but you're still this tiny little bean. It's just
you're
it's
a
one of
cute
those
troll, but you're still a troll.
Yeah, you're a cute troll, and it's kind of one of those things that you'd forget about it by the time the next match rolls along, because the servers were great. You were constantly restarting games. There was very little sort of wait times, and it was just good, stupid fun. It's in my honourable mentions though, because again, it kind of lost people to play with. It lost that desire to keep going back, because you got to a stage where there were people playing it that were just absolute freaks that were just on there constantly. So it become like every other battle royale where
yes,
those ones that play it constantly, you just there's no chance of winning, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, that game did not make it to any of my lists. I was very excited for it, but it was just way too much frustration for me. And even more than some of the others that are on my list that made it, even though they were frustrating. But yeah, just I could not win a match. And there was a match that I should have won where I actually ran and jumped and I got to the crown before everybody else, but I didn't know that I had to actually press the right trigger when you hit the crown to grab onto it. So I just went straight through it and fell. And that was the downfall of that game for me, because I never quite got there ever again. And it was just that one moment that, fuck you, why do you have to grab... No other game in the world do you have to press a button to pick up something like that. You just got to touch it.
Why do I have to press to win?
So, fuck you guys.
All right, Credge, take it away, mate.
So my first one is one that Lucas actually suggested I played early on in the year, and that is Concept Destruction, which was released in May 2020 this year.
Did I? Is that the racing game?
That's the papercraft racing game.
Yeah, cool.
You play as a little papercraft car in essentially a destruction derby, and you run around on like tables and architecture sort of tables and all sorts of weird and wonderful cardboard papercraft arenas, a bit sort of Micro Machines-esque in a way. Heaps of fun. It was a very simple game, super fun to play, really easy to pick up. It was a lovely little game.
Yeah, that game was cool.
So, all right, Luke.
All right, so honourable mention for me would be Black Ops Cold War multiplayer. So, not the campaign. I haven't finished the campaign, and although it's good, it's typical Call of Duty. But the multiplayer, I've got to say, I never thought that a Call of Duty would top last year's. Was it even last year's?
Yes.
Yeah, it was last year's Modern Warfare, because I really thought the multiplayer in that was unbeatable. But I really love Cold War's multiplayer. I just think whatever they've done, I can't even pinpoint what it is. The maps is one thing. There's no Piccadilly for me. There's no map in there. There's not one map in that game that I'm like, I don't want to do this. This sucks.
Cartel.
They're
Cartel
all
does
good.
it for me.
Which one's which one's Cartel?
Cartel's the one with the poppy plants right in the center of it, and it's got the big hangar to one side and the creek on the other, and you've got all those different levels. Like it's got so like the hangar on one side, creek on the other side.
Oh yeah,
you start at either ends, and you've got the bit in the middle with the watchtower and
it's got all the long, tall plants or whatever in the middle as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, look, I don't even mind that one. Obviously I have my favourites, but there's none that I hate, and just there's a feeling. Also, the game does a little bit sneaky, which I actually praise it for. They got rid of assists, and if you put damage on somebody and they get killed by another person, normally you would get an assist. Now that counts as an elimination, not a kill anymore, an elimination. And I feel like that does a lot for your, like a self-esteem sort of thing, because your KD ratio in this game, although a little bit artificial compared to previous Call of Duty games, it's naturally going to be a little bit higher, which makes you feel a little bit better. Normally where you might walk out with 8 kills, in this game you might walk out with 15. Mm-hmm. And that just makes you feel good. And I just think that's a good thing. I
got a 22 kill streak the other night on Miami. And I don't know how many of them were assists or whatever, but I don't care, because it was, a 22 kill streak. One thing that I found that's really satisfying is the health bar.
Yeah, that was my next thing to point out.
When you're shooting someone, they've got a health bar that comes up, and the sounds that sort of go along with it, like your hit marker sounds, it all plays into a world of you actually like you feel as though you're doing something. It really sort of works and plays into it.
Yeah, and it gives you a bit of an indicator as well of whether, you've got half a chance at this gunfight. They might be at an advantage, but you can see their health bar is really low. I think I've only got to get one hit on this guy, so it's not sort of a guessing game. So yeah, that's another thing. Those health bars are really good. But yeah, I give massive props to Cold War for their multiplayer. I think they managed to provide a multiplayer experience that is on par, if not better, than the previous year, which I thought was untoppable. And I think they did a good job with it.
Very cool. All right, my next one, Ghosts of Tsushima. Developed by Sucker Punch, of course, released the 17th of July. Not in my list for Game of the Year, even though a lot of people would boo me because of that. Look, it's a great game. It's beautifully made. The scenery, the gameplay, the combat. It's just the story didn't grab me. And it didn't grab me because I don't have that interest in the feudal Japan style, I suppose.
Yeah, but I do. I love Japan. I love all that sort of stuff, and I still didn't like that game.
Okay, well, I don't feel so bad now. It just look, there's a lot of good things about the gameplay that are really well done, and Sucker Punch did very well with it. There's a few bits of it that missed the mark for me. All right, Gregier, been quiet over there, mate.
Oh, look, I'm just letting you guys enjoy your moment. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe there's not.
Okay.
We will see later on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my next one is actually another racing game. Hot Shot Racing.
Hot Shot Racing.
Hot Shot Racing. So this was... When did this come out? Let me just double check. I did bring it up. The 13th of August, 2020. So it's kind of it's an arcade racer. It's a retro feeling game, kind of that original kind of Ridge Racer, high speed Twitch reaction racing kind of thing. I really enjoyed playing this game. I guess the only thing that is kind of a drawback and why it really didn't make my list was there's just not enough of it. It's quite a short game. And while they are offering free DLC and it's being added to, it's still quite a short game and there's not a lot of meat to it. And there's a lot of replaying the same thing over again. So I guess it'd be really good to play with friends who like playing racing games with you, and you've got your scores that you're trying to beat each other. But yeah, it was still a really solid game. I really enjoyed it. It pushed all the nostalgia buttons, Ridge Racer, Daytona. It's got all the music and the lights and the sounds. It everything. It's that nostalgia hit. It was really cool.
Awesome. Nostalgia in a video game is always a good thing.
Totally.
See, nostalgia I can go for. Replaying something that I played 20 years ago. Pff, no thanks. Look.
Isn't that how nostalgia works?
No, because you're replaying something that you've already played. Like getting nostalgia off a new game that makes it that brings memories of old games back to you.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm getting. What's your next one?
Right, my next one is Proteus. It's the that Doom-esque kind of shooter game that came out.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, well, this has that sort of feel. It reminds you of sort of the original Doom, but it just went further and made it look new but old. And it was a satisfying shooter. I actually really enjoyed that one. So that got into my honourable mentions because I haven't finished it, but I do intend on playing more of it. But there's just been so much more of higher importance that I've wanted to play since that. Like, Black Ops has taken my time and Cyberpunk and all that sort of stuff. But it was definitely not a game that I'm avoiding. Just haven't really sort of had the extra time to put into that rather than other things that I am playing. But it is definitely a game worth playing if you're into Doom and Doom-esque games. And it's kind of retro, but with just that, it just has a feeling of a current game. Just it's a really bizarre thing. They've executed it fantastically. The graphics look amazing. I love it. Excellent game.
There's a terminology for that in car building. It's called retro tech. So it's where you get like an old car and you put new parts into it, so it feels like you're driving a new car, but you're driving an old car.
Yeah, well, that's what they've done to the engine of this game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. All right. My next one, a little bit different. We'll probably get some groans from the gallery. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
No groans here, mate.
No? All right. Well, Assassin's Creed, of course, developed by Ubisoft Montreal, was released on the 10th of November. Now, it was released to probably great promise, but a lot of people had some issues with it in regards to bugs, playtime, just general sort of how it played on console, and, of course, its excessive length. There just seems to be a lot of filler in there. But,
do you reckon Ubisoft are like, oh, thank God Cyberpunk's out now?
Well, funnily enough, Ubisoft have just sneakily put in XP tokens that you can buy with real money to skip over, so you don't need to go and grind and do those long parts of the story where you're off doing side missions to get anyway. That's a lot of people are complaining about that.
You just reached my lane claim bullshit now. You're on the top of that list. Fuck you.
That's admitting our game's boring. Let's make money off it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done that. But look, I've always said that Assassin's Creed, I should love these games because I completely immerse myself in the lore behind it, the lore of the Templars, and, sort of stuff where they take a lot of their, they loosely base it upon these things from history. I've never been able to actually pick up an Assassin's Creed game and play it and enjoy it and get immersed in it. This one I have. It has grabbed my attention to the point where I keep going back to it. I haven't finished it because it is so long, but it's on my Xbox and I'll quite happily just pick it up. I'm playing it on the Xbox One X. It runs better on that than it does on the Series S. And it's another one of those ones where you can tell there's a lot of filler content. The gameplay style has actually got me to a point where I'm really enjoying it. Glitch, your next one, mate.
All right. So this is my last one. This is my top one, and it's purely here because it was number 6 on my list, and that was Animal Crossing. I really enjoyed playing this when I got the opportunity to play it. It's super fun. Rem is still playing it after all this time. It's a winner. Like, there's not much, I don't think I can really sing its praises any more than what people have over the year. But I think it's just a good, wholesome, fun game about absolutely nothing, and that's the bit that spins me out the most. Is if you want Home Loan Simulator, this is technically the game for you. So it's a good game.
I've got to agree with that, considering it is actually my next honourable mention as well. So, with Animal Crossing, it's the first one that I've touched, and it's on the Nintendo Switch, and I was pretty impressed with it. It is weird and wonderful at the same time, but you're essentially doing chores, and for some reason it was just fun and captivating. I think its timing in the market this year when it came out was absolutely perfect because it came out at the height of our lockdowns here, and
spot on, wasn't it?
People were at home with nothing to do, and Animal Crossings just came out and said, oh, here you go, and I gave it a go. I said that I was going to try the previous one but never did, so I thought I'll give this one a go, and I was not disappointed. I have put a lot of time into that game. I don't play it anymore, but I feel like I got my money's worth and then some, and it's a bloody good game. I don't even know why. It's just addictive.
At face value, I went, I should not enjoy this game. I shouldn't even like this game, but it's charming. Like that's the bottom line. It's quite a charming game. And as you said, it's weird and wonderful at the same time. It's a perfect example. That's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
Nice. My eldest has been at me for a new game on the Switch for a little while now, and I keep debating whether to pick that up for her.
Oh, it'll get rid of it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That might be the thought, especially being school
Over the school holidays.
Yes. All right. Well, my last one is Cyberpunk 2077. I don't disagree with anything that you said earlier, Luke. I completely understand it. The biggest difference is that I'm 10 hours in as opposed to your 30. I've not really had any issues on the PC. I've also got it on Xbox because I've got the Cyberpunk Xbox One X. It runs like a dog's breakfast on there. It is absolutely horrendous for something that's literally got the samurai on the back of it. It's quite shocking. On my PC, it runs. My PC's nowhere near the level of yours. Yet it still runs reasonably well. It is very resource hungry, but still doing what it does. I think I'm enjoying it just for the fact that it's a type of game that I enjoy. It's an RPG, so I'm not playing a lot of the story. I'm doing a lot of the side missions. I'm wandering. I'm ending up in places that I probably shouldn't be this early on in the game, but I'm there anyway. So, yeah, there'll be more to come on that over the next little while. All right, last one from yourself, Luke.
Last honourable mention for me is Ghost Runner.
Oh, yes.
Ghost Runner.
Yeah, so this is...
Fuck that game.
Well, it is a little bit like that. And I did sort of allude earlier that even though... what game was it that I was saying was frustrating? I can't remember, but Ghost Runner is extremely frustrating. But I can't deny that it does what it sets out to do brilliantly. Ghost Runner is a game that, for me personally, I would give an 8 out of 10. But ignoring it loses those 2 points for the frustration that it causes because it is quite challenging. But if I ignore that and take it from the perspective of how well the game runs, how well the game looks and how it feels and the controls, it's a dead set 10 out of 10 game, Ghost Runner. If you like that kind of game, then it's an absolute must play. And I kind of liken it to Super Hot without the stopping of time. You've got to keep moving, you've got to dodge bullets, you've got to kill enemies, and you've got to get from A to B using all different sort of means. And I just think Ghost Runner is an absolute gem. It just missed out because I don't really play it anymore because I know I'm in for a session of complete frustration. And that's why it didn't make any of my didn't make my top 5 game of the year because of that reason. But that's a personal reason. So I had to give it an honourable mention because it is a phenomenal game.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. That's it for everyone, yeah? For the honourable mentions?
That's all of mine.
Beautiful. All right, now we go on to the big one. Our Game of the Year countdown. Greg, I'm going to kick it off with you with your number 5.
Number 5. All right. Actually, that's quite fitting because my number 5 is Doom Eternal. Super solid game. It ticked all the boxes for, hard, fast shooting, meddling out, carrying on. The only drawback I had was fucking jumping puzzles in that game. They just slowed the process down. They were just dumb. They were frustrating. There was the time where you...
That's what killed it for me.
Yeah.
And...
You go from being like
everything else,
solid, bust through a wall unit, and then all of a sudden, I'm gliding into a wall. Koosh, up the wall, gliding. I'm just like, no, this is stupid. Just take that bit out. It slows the game down. It breaks the momentum. But other than that, everything else was just by the numbers, kick ass. So, yeah. it pretty much the jumping puzzles is why it was 5. So, yep.
Awesome. Lucas, you're number 5.
All right. Well, released on the 28th of April 2020, was a fantastic co-op game that I really enjoyed playing with, I think it was you, Snoogs, and the Wraith, good old Nick.
Mm-hmm.
We played Moving Out together. And I just think Moving Out was such an amazing game that even though it was, I think it was free on Game Pass.
Yep.
Was it?
Didn't we have Az in there at one stage as well?
Yes, we did. Yeah, Azrael played it with us as well. But it was free on Game Pass, but because I wanted to play it with you guys, I bought it on PC and used the remote play where you can play. You guys streamed it from my PC and were playing it that way because I don't think it had online multiplayer.
No.
Yeah, I think that was the case. It didn't have online multiplayer, but with this remote play with Steam, you could play local co-op games, but remotely. So that was really cool. So I even went out and paid for it, even though I had a free copy of it with Game Pass. I went out and purchased it so we could play it together because it was just so much fun, and I thought that was an amazing game. We ended up finishing it all together. I don't know who was there at the end, but we did finally finish it. And there were some great moments. There were some amazing moments. There were some stupid moments. But all in all, they were all classics. I think it's a bloody excellent game. So yeah, that made it to my list.
Yeah, I must admit those couple of nights we played that, I haven't laughed like that in a long time.
Oh yeah, it's good fun.
It's just stupid shit. Of course. All right. Well, my number 5 is a game that is developed by Phobia Game Studio and published by Devolver Digital. Was released on the 24th of July 2020, and that is, of course, Carrion. The good, gory, fun 2D platformer. Just a complete twist on gaming, really. It's you are the monster. It's not you're not trying to beat a monster.
The reverse horror.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So you're not trying to beat a monster. You're beating all the people that are trying to keep you captive.
Literally beating them.
And literally beating them and tearing them apart and eating them. It was just for something that was so simple, and it is a pixel art type game. I really, really enjoyed it, and I still quite often boot it up and play it.
Yeah, well, when that game was released, I was really looking forward to it. And at the time, I was away from home quite a lot. So I was playing it on a potato PC, and it still ran pretty good thanks to that pixely design. And even though I wasn't playing it on my home PC, it was subpar, I really enjoyed that game. It was something new that I don't feel has ever been done in that kind of capacity before. And it was just so engaging that I completed it in just only a few days. And I just thought it was so unique that it was brilliant. That is a bloody awesome game.
Agreed.
All right. Good edge, number 4.
All right, Red 4 standing by. It's Star Wars Squadrons.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've only just played the 10-hour demo, but that's enough for me to put it at least on my list. I really want to go and finish. I want to go and do the campaign. The multiplayer was fun to play. It's something different in the multiplayer space. It was much more accessible than Ace Combat's aerial combat multiplayer, which was just insane.
Ace Combat's Battle Royale.
Pretty much. Yeah. That was just nuts. This makes a lot more sense. The ships move in a way that allows you to more easily combat, I guess. But yeah, it's just feels so good. And I won't lie, as much as I wanted to really get into an X-Wing and just fang around, being a TIE fighter is just so satisfying. It literally is like the best aircraft, the best spacecraft. It is not so good. So yeah, That's my
Yeah.
number 4.
I haven't heard too much bad about that game, and I'm really excited to play it, but I'm holding off until I get my Quest. I want to play it in VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
holding off for my adapter to the PS5, and then I'll be playing it in VR. So, good stuff.
Yep.
Luke, number 4.
All right, well, if it wasn't glaringly obvious, although I had a different release date, I had the 23rd of July, not the 24th. I don't know who's correct there, but we'll fight that out another time. But my number 4 was Carrion as well, so we can skip
Awesome.
me.
No worries. My number 4 is a game, again, published by Devolver Digital, developed by Crow Team. Lucas, you, myself, and the Wraith played this quite a lot together.
Yeah.
And that was Serious Sam 4.
Ooh,
Serious Sam 4 was just, it's one of those nostalgic type games. It's unapologetic. It's very old school. It is stupid corny. And it's just stupid fun.
yeah,
It's just a game that I really enjoyed playing. And again, I've played it a couple of times now just to go back in and just run through and create havoc.
Well, this is one of those games where I actually feel bad that I forgot about it, because it was a really good game, and I don't have it on my list, and I feel like it should have, for me, it should have been on my honorable mentions, because it was good. It was pretty cool. It was my first entry into Serious Sam. I hadn't played any of the previous games, but I really did have a good time playing that game. So yeah, that we'll just pretend I mentioned that in my honorable mentions.
Pretend it was in there.
Yeah.
Even with the frame drops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's still all right.
That was only really that one mission that was massive in the
Yeah,
remember the mechs?
Yep.
Yeah, it was really only there. I mean, there was other frame drops, but I didn't really care. I thought it was too minimal of an issue to bother me.
Yeah, there's a lot of complaints about it, but I think a lot of that was a bit over the top from people whinging about it. Anyway, on to number 3 with Greggio.
Well, my number 3 is Minecraft Dungeons. So,
Oi!
yeah. No, everyone panned it back there, so it's all good. It's my turn to say I liked it.
No, please jump in. Go.
Yeah, no, I liked it, probably for a bunch of reasons why other people didn't. I liked the fact that it was a kind of a dungeon crawler light. I'm not a big... I don't hate dungeon crawlers, but I just find them overwhelming, usually when I get into them, and I'm not interested in the details when it comes to that. And this was light on the details. It just allowed me to enjoy dungeon crawling as a thing without having to worry about, are the numbers exactly right, and am I going to die if I don't get it right? So, and it was in a world that I knew and understood, and I could enjoy how they created the world with all those things that you know and love from Minecraft. I just thought it was a really cool spin on, and something new for the brand. I think it was a good effort. It was a good first effort at branching out into something different and new, and we will get something different and new very soon with the new first-person style RPG that they're bringing out in the Minecraft world. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is, but that's also coming out soon, so it's a bit like a mix between the two. That'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. So I think it's a really interesting space, and I just really enjoyed that game. So
plus, it's always good with. I know how much your kids love Minecraft, and that's a different spin on Minecraft that you can actually still play with them around it. It's not too overly crappy. Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
All right, Luke, number 3.
Well, my number 3 was released on the 29th of October 2020, and it was Watch Dogs Legion.
Ooh.
This one, of course, makes it to my list. First thing that I wanted to mention is that I thought this game was going to be absolute rubbish, and I was pleasantly surprised that the game was super fun. I thought it was going to be bad because of the overly ambitious concept of being able to play as any NPC. I thought that was going to break the game and wasn't going to be as good as the previous games. While some of that is true to a point where I feel like the animations are a little bit generic, because they're sort
It's
of
samey.
they're spanned across a whole bunch of different characters. Whereas when you played previous games, like as Marcus, he had his own sort of movements and fancy little takedowns, and they were very well integrated into the game. But with the new game with Legion, it had to be sort of worked into many different character models that could do the same moves. But it really wasn't that big of an issue. It actually was done quite well. And I found the game to be very fun to play. And I had a really good time from start to finish, to the point where I 100%ed pretty much everything. I just didn't do every single, there's little collectible things you can pick up, but it's really just for money. They're not really collectibles. I didn't bother doing all of them, but I did everything else on the map and completely 100% completed all segments of the map of London. And I really enjoyed my time in that game. And so far, that's pretty much 3 from 3 with Watch Dogs. I've really loved all 3 of their games, and this one was no different. I mean, the game itself was very different, but still just as fun. So I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Very much Watch Dogs at its core, which was good.
Yeah, it still kept the DNA, which was good.
Yep, beautiful. All right, number 3 for me was released on the 23rd of May. It's another game where it's a bit of a reverse on standard types of things. Developed by Tripwire Interactive, we have Maneater.
I knew you were going to say Maneater.
Yeah.
Because your dates are always one day off compared to what I have written down.
Oh, okay. I think I actually got this date direct off Epic Store. So, wow. Okay. Maneater, of course, you're playing as a shark. As a baby shark, your mummy dies. And you go out for vengeance, bit of revenge, going nuts. So, hey, it just dropped then what you were doing.
It's low on the uptake.
Yeah, I hate that. I've blocked it out of my memory. Of course, you are a shark. It's an RPG. It's you're just sort of building, evolving, and just eating anything and everything, and the absolute mayhem that you can cause when you jump on land. As stupid as it sounds, you've suddenly got a land shark just jumping and splattering around and chomping after people. The first person that I ate in that game was so satisfying, and the 500,000th person that I ate in that game was still just as satisfying.
Yeah, totally agree. Maneater was an absolutely brilliant game that, you know what, initially I expected that this game would be fun for 5 minutes and then stupid, but it wasn't. Another game that I 100%ed this game twice.
Yep.
It was way too fun. It was just, once again, it was unique. It was a game that we really haven't seen before, that was put through its paces. And when you get all the way to the end and you eventually have a shark that can either have electrical powers or this mad exoskeleton, it was just epic. It was just shy of sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads. It was so good. And you know what?
That's a misstep. There should have been one.
Well, it probably, maybe in Maneater 2, we might get that. But the story as well, it was a lot better than I was anticipating. Although it's nothing groundbreaking, I actually really liked how there was, like, what the story was. Because I suppose, not really spoiling it, it happens early in the game, but your mother is killed by a poacher, and you get away with injuries, and you basically spend your entire life growing up to a mega shark to seek revenge for your mother's life. And it probably didn't really need a story, but it had one there, and it was good. I thought it was that game was a dead set 10 out of 10 for me. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I loved it.
Awesome. Number 2, Greg.
So, my number 2, you guys clearly didn't like. My number 2 was Ghost of Tsushima. So, I liked the game. I liked the story. I thought it was
Nice.
pretty. I just thoroughly enjoyed slashing people up. What can I say? I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Well,
There
I didn't think it was a bad game.
yeah.
It just didn't gel with me. I didn't like it.
Oh, look, I understand. We talked about it when it came out, and I understand why. But for me, what's
some of your biggest memories from it that make you
Besides
Like the-
patting
the-
foxes.
besides batting the fox?
There's in my mind when I think about it, it's some of the sceneries where, and I would, you'd purposely sort of position your camera where you had this lone samurai just sort of standing there and this beautiful scenery. Like there was just these moments where you could just sit and just enjoy just visually what was happening on the screen. And then there was like the combat, like when you finish carving up a bunch of people and you're walking away, and he just does that flick of the sword before he puts it back. It's just, it's just I love putting my sword away intentionally just so I can do that flick. Like I will tell him to put his sword away. I won't wait for it to automatically happen. I do it just so I can get that flick. And when you find. And when you collect the bamboo, it's got that water feature sound where the bamboo goes tunk tunk. I love that sound. There's something about that sound that just centers me. I can't get enough of that sound. I'd love to sit in the Zen garden and just listen to that dunk dunk all day. I don't know what it is. I know it drives some people insane, but for me, there's something about that sound. It fills me. It just feeds my soul is the best way I can put it.
A game is doing something right if one of the reasons why you're putting it high on your list for Game of the Year is when you were doing nothing in the game.
Yeah,
standing
exactly.
still. Yeah, but look, Ghost of Tsushima is one of those games that I am happy to concede that it is a fantastic game and well worth praise. But yeah, just not for me.
Yeah.
And I have it downloaded on the PS5, so when you come around, you can try it out.
It'd be so more beautiful.
Luke, number 2.
Well, once again, pretty obvious, but I matched yours, which was Maneater. And for those listening along, I haven't seen Snoogs' list. He hasn't seen mine prior to now. This is purely
Maneater was
coincidental.
my number 3, so we.
Was it your number 3? Was it?
Yeah, same with Carrion. Mine was 5. Yours was 4.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I had them slightly higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, Maneater was my number 2. I bloody well love that game.
One other thing about Maneater, I downloaded it to the 5 today because the updated version has ray tracing and 60 frames.
Ah, very good. Well, I essentially played the PlayStation 8 version of it on PC.
Yes, exactly. All right. My number 2 is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Sorry, I should say properly. Developed by Insomniac and published, of course, by Sony. Was only just released on the 12th of November with the PS5. This is high up my list, but I still haven't finished it yet. I'm not far off finishing it, but Spider-Man on the PS4 was a very iconic title. It was one that a few people weren't expecting it to do very well, but I absolutely loved it. As soon as I started playing it, I did not stop until I had the platinum. I couldn't put it down. And the same has just happened again. So even though Miles feels like a bit of it's essentially a standalone DLC, it doesn't lose any of that initial feels that you got from Spider-Man. But then again, it adds this twist on the character because Miles is a very different character to Peter. And the story that it runs with is just absolutely brilliant. And because I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5, not the 4, it just looks better, it runs better, and yeah, I can't talk it up enough. It's good fun.
Yeah, very good.
No one else has played it yet.
I haven't played it yet, so I can't comment.
All right, Game of the Year for 2020. Reg, kick us off. What is your Game of the Year for this year?
Well, for the first time since I've been doing this, I actually haven't picked a AAA rated game to be my number one.
Ooh.
So it's
Really
not Forza.
So it's not Forza, it's not Outer Worlds, it's not any of that, right? And you guys have already talked about. I actually picked Carrion as my number one.
Oh wow, nice.
Yep.
It was so fun. I mean, Pat, you've seen how much I enjoyed playing that game, how immersed I got into that game.
Yeah, it got to midnight. I was starting to doze off. I'm like, Greg, get out.
not to mention, I was giving it a voice. I was, I was characterizing this thing. Like, I just thoroughly enjoyed this game. It just was so much fun. Every person that I have met since that plays on any platform, I've gone, play Carrion. You have to play Carrion. It's such a good game. You won't regret it. It's fun as hell. I couldn't, and I just like, it's good.
One of the things that's the best about this. So it's your game of the year, right?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I'm not sure exactly how long ago, you first spoke about Carrion.
Pre-alpha. It was
pre-alpha stage. You'd contacted, I think, on Twitter, the developer for it. Like you'd had a conversation with this person, and they were talking about it, and you were so hyped, and you've been so hyped all the way through it to actually get to that point where the game comes out, you get your hands on it, and like you said, I can attest to how much fun you had with it. It's good. I love it. It's brilliant to see. It's actually something that paid off.
There's nothing better than being super excited for a game that when it comes out, it meets your expectations and blows you away and even exceeds them. That is a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, and that's where I am, where I'm at right now. I no regrets. I'm like, Carrion is number one. I don't care what anyone says. For me, it was great. It was great.
Very cool. All right, Luke, your game of the year for 2020. I have a feeling that you and I are going to be on the same page here.
Yeah, well, look, this is the only game of the year that actually matters, so everything else you hear is just sort of waffle and ill-informed, I guess. This game, I feel like, also is very obvious that I'm going to choose it. It was released on the 19th of June, 2020.
I have the same date, by the way.
And, you do? Wow, well done.
That's nice.
And even though I will kick any sort of console in the guts at any opportunity I can, I must concede that my game of the year is a PlayStation exclusive game, and it's no surprise that my game of the year is actually The Last of Us Part 2. What a game, what an experience. I remember getting the game, was it a week or two? Was it 2 weeks before release?
It was about 2 weeks early.
About 2 weeks early, and I remember, I think you sent through the code. I was about to go to bed, and you sent it through at probably about 11 or 12 o'clock midnight.
Yeah, when it come through,
Yeah, so I stayed up a lot longer than I had anticipated and downloaded it on the PS4, and I played probably a couple of hours that night, and it was so amazing. It was every emotion you could possibly feel. That game was just full of hate, but it also demonstrated what mental illness can cause people to do, and the themes in that game, they're not fun. They're not something that's happy-go-lucky, but it's it tells a lot of stories, and it shows a lot of emotion, and even ignoring the gameplay, the story itself was just a masterpiece, I think, and a lot of people tried to shoot it down for that, saying because it wasn't what they were expecting. And that's one thing that I really appreciated about The Last of Us Part 2, is that they didn't just give us what we were expecting. It was a shock, and
it was a downright kick in the teeth.
It was.
Is what it was. It's the first game that mine is exactly the same. Mine is The Last of Us Part 2. For me, and just sort of what I've written down here, it's really the only story that has affected me in a way this year that it still affects me to this day. Like, I can still feel the effects and remember specific scenes and remember the emotion that those specific scenes portrayed. And I did cry. I did swear. I did yell. I felt uneasy. I felt sympathy for a character that I really thought I wouldn't feel sympathy for.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
and the way that the first time that you, as Abby, the first time that you have to go and you fight, you're made to fight Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out long enough now. If I'm not even going to bother with the spoilers, so you're made to fight Ellie. If the first time, and I think you did it as well, Luke, I stood there and let Ellie kill me.
Yes, I did.
Hoping I wouldn't have to.
Yeah, but obviously
hoping I wouldn't have to do it.
You have to fight her. Yeah. This game it has a very strong story of don't judge a person before you've walked a mile in their shoes. And not just the cheeky thing of, well, because, then you're a mile away and they've got no shoes. But more so to the point of it's very easy to see an action and of some person and assume their motivation, that they're just an asshole. But then once you get to see the full picture and it's explained why they did what they did, you start to understand and you see the bigger picture. And this game really does tear at your emotions, where you may hate somebody, but then once you learn, you feel that hate is misguided and that person really doesn't deserve that kind of hate, and the vice versa, and it starts to tear at who's right, who's wrong, and the emotion was really up there. But then once again, take away from that, and the gameplay I thought was absolutely amazing. I thought it still felt very strongly like The Last of Us Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it just felt more refined, and it had a few extra things. They didn't go overboard in adding all these new stuff that would sort of tear it away from how it felt. But they did. They added enough things that it was still fresh. And oh my god, the graphics. Oh, the visuals in that game. And that's I just want to bring up a Twitter post that I saw earlier, where a lot of people are making mention about Cyberpunk 2077 running so poorly on PlayStation. And they're saying, what did you expect from a 7-year-old console? And this Twitter post actually says, yeah, why would you expect a 7-year-old console to have a game on it that looks amazing? And it had screenshots from The Last of Us Part 2. It had God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and all these games that look amazing, but play amazing too. And it's a bloody good point. So why is Cyberpunk having those issues? But that's a different topic. But my point being is this game looks immaculate, and it's on last generation hardware, and it played so good. I had nothing but an amazing experience with The Last of Us Part 2. I played it through several times. I platinumed the game, and just like I did with the first one. And I really, really do hope that they do bring out factions for Part 2. I think that would be great.
So I think what they've managed to actually do is meet what they did with the first one. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I think are critical to what made the first one so great. One, it looked and played amazing at the very end of the console cycle.
Yeah.
This one has done exactly the same. The story in the first one, if you remember, and I know you both remember, it is a gut punch of a story.
Yeah.
The only way they were ever going to replicate that was to subvert your expectations and give you another gut punch to make you feel, because that's what the last one did. It made you feel.
It did.
So I think while a lot of people just look at it and go, it wasn't what I expected, so therefore it's not the same, I'm going to say that, and I haven't played it yet, I will, it's a case of, I think they've actually managed to do it again. It's just they had to do it in this way, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. It would have been, it feels too samey, or not enough the same. I think they're the magicians, they really are. They've waved their wand.
I'd go as far to say that it's a perfect sequel. It really has enough of the original but then this whole new spin on it. And the biggest thing I think to come out of it is a game that is not designed for people that are under 18. It is a pure over 18 game, and not just for the violence, but for its themes as well.
Yeah.
And the deep seated, vengeance and hatred that you feel throughout the game. And then you yourself, well, for me personally, I started to understand why that hatred and why hatred in general is such a bad thing, and what it can lead to. It really was, for me, it was a complete title. I cannot say a bad thing about it.
Yeah, and just going
Except
off what you
for
were
fucking
saying,
Tommy at the end.
you're saying that it's not for people under the age of 18, and I think this is probably a very important point, that this game is for mature audiences. So regardless of your age, I think that because this game got a lot of hate, and it's especially Abby got a lot of hate as well. And Laura Bailey, the voice of Abby, she received death threats on social media for her just being the voice of a character. She had nothing to do with the writing. She had nothing to do with anything other than the fact that she voiced this character. And I believe that if you are one of those people who would attack a game because it's not what you're expecting, I don't believe that game is intended for you, because it is for mature audiences.
You should not be playing it. Yeah.
Well, you're clearly not a mature person to understand the themes and why those things happened and how the story is being told. If you just get pure anger from it, then these kind of games aren't for you, because you just don't get it. And
you've kind of missed the point of the story.
Yeah, and I also think that it was bloody brilliant justice that Laura Bailey received the award for the best character, I think it was, in playing Abby. And after she got so much hate, she even kind of alluded to that in her speech when she won. And I think that was a victory for her, because she did do an amazing job. And that was kind of a slap in the face to all of those haters. And then also the Game Awards giving The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year as well was another slap in the face to all the people that review bombed this game, simply because things happened in it that they didn't like. They didn't agree with it. They wanted the story to be out of a can, what you would expect, typical hero saves the day. And The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 are nothing like anything you would pull out of a can. So, look, to all the haters, go fuck yourself.
Indeed. Well, that's it, boys.
That's it.
That's our game of the year, all done and dusted for 2020.
Yeah. No,
so, but...
Sorry, I was going to say, look, the 2020 was like a busted arsehole, and more personal to me than people would know. The games weren't. The games saved it. The games saved the year. It was a bloody fantastic year for games.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I had my full list of titles that I played this year, and damn, there were some doozies in there. Yeah. It was a good year for it. All right. Well, before we close out this show, Luke, do you want to lead us off with some shout-outs?
Yes. So I got a shout-out to a bunch of people on Twitter that I posted on Twitter earlier today that we were doing our show, recording our show for Game of the Year, and I asked some people to reply with what their personal Game of the Year was. And I'm just going to give them a shout out and read out what their choices are. So first on the list was Uncle Chunt, and he replied back saying Animal Crossings, or Crossing, I should say. So that made it to our list as well. It's a very good choice there. He said he loved it, and otherwise the Final Fantasy VII remake, if I was able to play it. I guess that's probably because he got rid of his PlayStation, because that's only on PlayStation, isn't it?
Only on PlayStation, yep. At the moment, okay. I think. Well, whatever. Yeah.
Sacrifices you make to be a fanboy.
The next one was from Rusky Big Muskie. good old Russell. He said, too many to mention, some not even released this year, but picking just one has to be The Last of Us Part 2 for me, but agree with but agree with, well... Oh, sorry, it's the printout I've got. It's only black and white, so it's made it hard to read, but it says, but agree with Oz Thorncliffe as well. So his response will be a bit further down, I think. But he says, mentions Horizon Zero Dawn, Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7 remakes, and currently plus 100 hours. Wow, okay. And into replay of Mass Effect Andromeda, many more too. All right, we've got next one, which is 8-Bit Punk. My personal pick is Streets of Rage 4. I was afraid it was going to be too deviated from the original 3, but it feels like such a perfect sequel. That is probably another one that should have made my honourable mentions. I really enjoyed that game, Streets of Rage 4. That was cool. Next one from Ramutha. Genuinely for me, Animal Crossing's New Horizons and Spiritfarer, simply because they have managed to grab and keep my attention for so long and have been beautifully presented with regular updates that keep it interesting. So another one for Animal Crossing, so that's a good one. And Spiritfarer, that's the one Azrael loved but then hated because she had a game-breaking bug. Is that one?
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the one I'm ticking along with slowly in the background.
Yeah, okay.
She does play a lot of it, I will tell you right now.
There you go.
She loves that game.
Playing it right now.
Next one is The Star Wars. He says, I honestly missed a lot of big games this year. Animal Crossing, of course, was a huge part of this year, but oddly enough, I'm going to give it to Bug Snacks. It's everything I wanted in a game this year, and I got sucked in. I've heard a lot of good things about this Bug Snacks game.
You know what? I can vouch for that. It's just I don't know what it is about the game.
After we gave it so much shit.
Yeah, it really does suck you in, and it's nothing special. Even to look at, it's nothing special. But it's just fun.
Just has that secret sauce, I guess. Oh, well.
Just does. Yep.
Very good. All right, next up I've got Snappy the First. So he says, as much crap as it's copped, I'm still loving Cyberpunk. Definitely built for new-gen consoles and PC, but still really getting into it. It's definitely good. It doesn't say what he's playing it on, but yeah, look, it is a good game. I can't deny that. Kevin Cleary is next. Kevin's a long-time listener from way ago. He's a good bloke. Of the new games this year, Final Fantasy Remake or Spelunky 2, but Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds, might be the best game I've ever played. I wonder if that's a typo, because I know Outer Wilds is a game.
No, there is a game.
But did he mean that one? Or Outer Worlds?
Well, I don't know. Outer Wilds is you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, I'm going to assume he's got it right, and it's Outer Wilds, but yeah, there we go. I haven't played it, so I don't know. Gareth, or also Gothioso, has said he's strangely, I'm choosing Cyberpunk. That's not strange. It's not a bad game. It's good. It's just got some issues with, specifically consoles. But
good for you being able to see past it too.
Well, that's it. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty damn good, ambitious game. We've got Strap 4K. He says Ghost of Tsushima delivered something awesome for me. There's another one for Ghost of Tsushima. Next one is Thorncliffe. He says Ghost of Tsushima for all-round gameplay and Animal Crossing New Horizons, the ultimate chill-out game. A lot of people are loving Animal Crossing.
Sean's done nothing but... Sorry, Thorncliffe to everyone else that doesn't know him. He's done nothing but rave about Ghost. He's platinumed it.
Yeah.
And it's just, this was one of those games for him where he started it and he didn't stop playing it until he platinumed it. So, he's loved it.
Well, he's not alone there. A lot of people really do love that game. I don't know why. It might be a game that I play in 5 years' time and slap myself for not enjoying it, because the same thing happened for me with the first and second Mass Effect. I tried the demo of the first Mass Effect game and I thought this was garbage, so I didn't play it. And then it was a few years later, there was all this hype about Mass Effect 2, So I went and played the first one, and I absolutely loved it. And it's one of my favourite all-time trilogies around, and hated it the first time I played it. So I may change my tune down the line for Ghost of Tsushima. Who knows? Next one we've got...
play it on PC.
Well, yeah, when it's out on PC, I might give it a go. Dan, or Trismegistos, he says 100% Animal Crossing. Came at the perfect time for Victoria. We went into hard lockdown, and it was great escapism for gamers. Like I said earlier, it was very good timing, and it seems to be a bit of a winner. He also has added on there Ghost of Tsushima as well, so he loves that. So
the 1-2 punch combination at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Animal Crossing, Ghost.
That's right. There's some pretty outstanding games there. And there was, what was the other one from Tommy Ted?
The game that's got more return requests than Cyberpunk. It was the Snoogs dating simulator.
Oh dear, very good.
The man's a champion.
That's all the Twitter Game of the Year things.
Awesome. Greg, any other last words before we close it up, mate?
Well, firstly, I have one more of the year to do, and that is, this one's for Wraithy. This is the reface of the year. So
Oh, yeah.
He has done a shitload of refaces with my face in them, and the other two, but he's done quite a lot with my face. So I thought it was only fair that I go through and I pick my favorite and tell you guys. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you really need to join our Discord. Jump on the live chat, because they are spread through the live chat. You'll find, you just go for a backwards troll. You'll see so many of them.
Just be warned about some of the imagery that might be in there.
True, it is not safe for work. Or anyone under the age of 18. Yeah, so my favorite, it's a bit obscure, so I'm going to have to describe it. He stuck my face on what looks like a German dude in lederhosen playing a little sort of handheld keyboard thing and playing a little tune, and he does like a little cuckoo whistle in the middle. I will just I had it queued up, but it's disappeared. But here it is. This is what it sounds like. You'll have to look it up to see what it looks like. So here it is. So yes, that's it.
There you go. Yeah, I know that one well.
that's my winner. That's the one that made me laugh the most, and still makes me laugh. So, thank you, Wraithy. It's been a joy this year, mate. It really has.
All right. Anything else from yourself, Luke?
Do we have a list of like our regulars? Have we got a list to read them out and just thank them because they're all there almost every week? I could try and go off the top of my head. See if I can remember them.
List. No.
We've got, look, Radicus, there's Azrael, Wraithy, Dan, Trismegistos. We've also got Skrill, who's another one of our top people that join us for every week. Who am I missing?
Martikins.
Oh, Martikins. Yep, he's another one.
The robot formerly known as Kaza.
Kaza Kyle. He's a good lad. Anyway,
He's a good lad.
There's not necessarily just the people that make it for our show, because a lot of people just can't, which is like the Star Wars. He has made a couple of efforts because he's on the complete other side of the world, but he has joined the live podcast a few times, but is just a constant contributor, has conversations with a lot of people on the Discord, and it's all really good stuff. So if you're listening to this and you want to be part of a community of people that are always nice to each other, that's the Age XP. And if we ever run into a situation where that's not the case, it gets stomped out real quick. And even in the past, I'm not going to name names, but there was a particular person, you may remember who this is, Snoogs and Greg, but we even had a troll in there who we managed to turn into like a nice guy who was actually pretty cool. Not really around too often, but I don't know, I think we killed him with kindness. But that was pretty cool. But yeah, we've got a lot of regulars in our Discord, and the conversations flow. When someone needs help, they get help. When somebody wants to share something, it gets recognized, and it's just a really good place to be. Discord and the Aussie Gamers Experience Discord is pretty much my only social media outlet now. I don't use any of the others. This is all I need. That's my home. I love it. So come and join. There's links in the description if you think you'd fit in well.
Beautiful stuff. All right, well, if that's it, guys, I think we can just about close it up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I hope
Totally.
I didn't forget anyone. I'm so sorry if I did.
That's all right. I've got a blanket, thank you, in the next little bit, so it's all good.
Nice.
So that is it for another year from us. We want to thank all the developers, manufacturers, and PR companies that have worked with us in 2020. It's been a uniquely challenging year, but everyone has been really awesome. So thanks a lot, guys. Above all else, though, we want to thank you, the listeners, our community. Without you, we wouldn't be here, and we'd appreciate each and every one of you. Sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied. But, of course, a special shout-out does go to our agents over on Discord. You guys really are the heart of the community, like Luke was just saying. Thanks a lot for joining us on this ride. It makes it a whole lot more fun with you guys here.
Thanks, A10.
So-
I forgot you. Sorry. Love you, A10.
There you goes, another one. Love yous. And anyone else we forgot, sorry.
Rusky Big Musky.
That's all from us for 2020. Have a safe and happy Christmas and New Year, everyone. Get up to what you can and have fun while you're doing it. Catch us all next year. That's all from me. I've been Snooks.
I've been Lucas.
And I have been Greggio.
Say yes.
Bye-bye, dude.
Hooroo.
Ooh, once again, we have reached the end of another week in gaming. And if you've listened all the way up until this point of the show, then there's a good chance that you're a perfect fit for the AgeXP Discord channel. And you can join by using the links in the show description. Once you've joined, you will find yourself within a community of amazing people who are all interested in one thing, and that's gaming. You can also join in live while we record the show and have your say. Now, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you'll be notified when the next episode is available for your listening pleasure. Until next time, take care, be safe, and keep on gaming. Then there's Stewie. Stewie, how to forget Stewie? He's not in the live chat every week because he can't. He's also in the other side of the world. But that dude will comment and like the podcast when it's released every Sunday. He's there.
Yeah, he's always sharing it.
Top dudes. I should have made a list. Oh well, I think I got there in the end.
You're a cock.
Did he fail?
Yeah, he's gone.
He's had enough.
At 11 minutes past 10.
Oh well, yeah.
So you almost made it to the end.
It's
Almost.
useless.
Yeah.
It's easier to edit with one file anyway.
Sorry, Craig, but I have a funny feeling next year you won't be making a repeat of it.
No. Does anyone know a Craig that's not a fuckwit?
No,
I know one. One.
One.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look, all the Craigs that I've run into in my life have been fucking belters.
Yes. Yeah, all bar one. I got one good one, but yeah, you're right. The rest are just belters. It's the best description for them.